Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you again with the Tits Out and Balls to the Wall, episode number 5. Actually, I forgot to change it. COPALOOZA Special number 2. I just had a bunch of comp videos up from the last one that were still left over. We didn't get through. I collected a couple more to kind of fill in the whole session for today. So we're going to do a COPALOOZA Special 2 today. And we've got 5-Speed with us. Want to remind everybody to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. Every little bit is appreciated. And, of course, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. How you doing at 5-Speed?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well.
Good to
Hope
hear.
everyone else is doing well as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got us a nice extended, what do they call it, Indian summer. 85 degrees today, 10/20 of 2024, October 20th, 2024, and we're still hitting 80s. And the week and a half outlook looks to be about the same. So we're going to end up in the 70s, 80s the rest of the month, supposedly.
You know, it's kind of wild. I was just noticing the other day how the birds, man, they're just going on like it's springtime.
Yeah, I haven't seen much for migration yet at all.
They're singing up a storm.
Don't know what's going on, but you never know. What they say might be true, but they've said a lot of fucking things, so we don't know. That's the thing about patience and living in the day. So let's get into it. We've got Brian from Here's the Deal with us today. This is something he put out about an hour or so ago, and I peeked it, and so I thought it looked pretty good because this is what we're looking at, folks. He'll never call the cops for help again. Back to blue until it happens to you. And this is a perfect instant where somebody is reaching out for help because the system has already designated certain activities and actions. And this man having custody of his daughter, his ex came over and took his daughter. By technicality, if I'd have done that and went and got my daughter, they'd have charged me with kidnapping. This is the problem with the way things run with this feminist bullshit, this DEI bullshit, all this equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion of all the insane people saying your vote counts. It's never counted. It's never going to count. And the only way it would count is if you were voting for Jesus and you knew the particulars thereof. Voting for a system that's fictional to begin with and don't know the particulars thereof and professing that your vote counts and not knowing or being able to show how it counts is delusion. And that's what we've got here is a system of delusion that thinks that you think they're here to protect and serve, and they are not. So let's take a look. And if you don't know Brian from Here's the Deal, go ahead and go over and check him out. I did not drop a link. He's pretty popular. He's got, I don't know how many thousands of viewers. Let me see here. 285,000 viewers. So go ahead and check him out. Puts out a lot of information that and shows some good points about what we're dealing with. And we really have to wake up to this. And it is becoming simpler for people to understand this because it's just delusional. And the more you come out of the delusion and willingness to put up with those small white lies, the more the evidence is patent, the more it becomes observable. And this is what we're talking about here. The truth here is observable. They are not here to serve and protect.
Hey, be honest. Do you trust cops?
We trust
not one bit.
Officers to serve and protect.
And then they routinely do the exact opposite nearly every single time, to the point where the ranks of the back the blue till it happens to you club grows every single day. Meet the newest member. And let's take a listen to what he has to say.
What do you expect the next time for me to call the police? I won't do that no more. In my lifetime.
Who's coming with me?
This recent video coming out of Mesa, Arizona has just a little bit of everything we always talk about on this channel. You got a man who's calling on the cops, and then he becomes a suspect and then a victim of police abuse. We've got incompetent ponytail cops who have no business out there exerting their authority, especially over men. We've got mainstream media who won't.
And I don't know what's going on here, why it's, I've cleared all cookies and everything. I don't know why it's doing this. So hopefully I'll be able to figure that out soon. But yeah, no one. And I think this is inherent in everybody's heart, and why it changes over their lifetime, where they somehow believe that another man has authority over them. I don't know. But no man ever has authority over another man, period. The only time such things should come about is in life and death instances where one is either needing to be saved or another is needing to be put down because they are a danger, an imminent danger of life to the rest of the community. This goes in situations like kidnappers, murders, rapists. That's the only time. And it's not because it's a holier than thou thing. It's a matter of safety for the rest of the people, for the greater good. You don't have one man in a community, a small tribal community of, say, 100 people that goes around and has this thing about killing, raping, or kidnapping one person every week. That society wouldn't last but a year or two, if even that. That's why it's so detrimental when we have one of those kind of people in the community. Today we have multiples, and it's called an program of economic warfare, where they hire these people to take advantage of those that don't know. Sickening.
Call out the gross abuse of power and the elephant in the room, and we've got a life ruined with a simple call for help from a dude who's in dire straits and desperate need to get his daughter back. Check this out.
A man who called police for help to get his young daughter back ended up on the ground in handcuffs. Video of this encounter from earlier this month has been circulating on social media, and the man filed a complaint about the officers involved. New at 10, ABC 15 investigator Melissa Blasius is taking a closer look.
Look at the female.
I've now been able to view both the police body cam video and the witness video that you're about to see. But first, the background. The man, Darnay
Damn, this is irritating.
Cockrell, called 911 on August 6th after he says his ex showed up at his apartment and left with their young daughter without permission. Several minutes into the call, police, without explaining why, start handcuffing Darnay Cockrell.
Here, just put my hands, man. I'm not going on the ground here. Here, just put my hands. Would you stop? Please, would you stop?
Cockrell says he was trying to comply with officers, putting his hands behind his back, and despite saying he recently had shoulder surgery and bad knees, he says the officers try to trip him and force him down.
It makes me feel less than a person, you know. Like, I mean, what?
See, and that's part of the problem right there. You know, here we see another guy that identifies as a person rather than a man or a living soul. And I, you know, and this is one of those things, and I'm sure Russ has heard me ask people this before in reference to Genesis 2:7. Many people will stand up and admit when I ask them this, are you a man? And they will say yes. despite the fact that I can then ask them, or previously have asked them, are you a Christian? And they will again say yes. And despite the fact that they say yes to both of these answers, or both of these questions, they fail to recognize that very Christian scripture that they said yes to, that they're a Christian, that Genesis 2:7, God formed man of the dust of the ground. And when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, that man became a living soul. One is a person, man is a noun of a person, place, or thing. Understand what I'm saying here. I'm using concise English. A noun is that of a person, place, or thing. In other words, the noun describes the person, the place, or the thing. Now, if a noun describes a thing, and that thing is a living soul, then the noun is used to describe something that is real and is therefore merely nothing but a descriptor. So if you're identifying as the descriptor, you're failing to recognize as the real thing. So again, if I ask you if you're a Christian, you tell me yes. And then I ask you if you're a man, and you again tell me yes. I know you are not in knowing of what is true and real, because you are deceived through this public education system and the twisted English that it teaches you to not be concise. And therefore you are willing to fall victim to that of the person. That is how they take advantage of you and have victory over you. This is the history that is narcissistic of a victor over the victim, because they are the one telling the rest of the world the names and nothing about the thing. Those historical records tell you nothing about a living soul. The only thing that does that is the scripture. And that's why I hold it so important. It tells me the story about living souls despite their names. It is the message, not the messenger.
And always remember, identity is the lens that filters everything.
Correct. And it is often colored. People are color blind, period, through a language.
What do you expect the next time, for me to call the police? I won't do that no more.
What do you expect me to do next time? Call the police? I won't do that no more.
Back the blue till it happens to you.
Absolutely.
Let's look at one more time at this attempted takedown by two people on one dude. And you notice the guy's like, hey, I'll comply. You don't have to get me down to the ground. Look, I'm putting my hands behind my back. Go ahead. And if you feel like you need to put the cuffs on, go ahead. But I got bad knees.
Go ahead, but I have bad knees. Bad knees, bad shoulder, just had surgery, and willingly complying. And he obviously is one of those people that believes the system works for him as long as he works with the system. And this is true, folks. In my research, I am finding I was the buffoon. I was the babbling idiot. I was the fucking fool. I was the one without comprehension. Now that I've done my research, and I'm going to continue doing my research so I get a better and deeper comprehension that will lead to greater experiences and better wisdom. And the wisdom of this is that the system does work if done appropriately. This has to do with that feed a man for a day if you give him a fish. But if you teach him how to fish, he lives for a life. He feeds himself for a lifetime. The true principle is the teaching that is supposed to continuously go on and improve.
Well, the teaching, I look at the teaching is where the finances come from.
Right. That is the fundamental foundation of everything that is evaluated to come up with a value in the end. People don't know how to do that. They don't know how to evaluate things because they don't know how to observe them properly for what they truly are.
Well, I mean, look, and I think that's what the disconnect too is with all these people in these leadership roles. You can't even have a conversation with these folks.
No, most of them are hooked up in that babble, the English language. They don't know the concise English. And therefore we end up with Hitler's willing executioners, people that are just doing their job because somebody else who they believe has authority over them told them to do so, and they have no inkling to check into the morals and ethics of it, despite the fact that they have to have their own morals and ethics in everything they do. They're willing to give up that and hand it over to somebody else and think that they have responsibility and obligation as their authority to say, I'm just doing my job. You have to talk to somebody else. No, everybody is supposed to be competent in their job. And that has to do with morals and ethics of doing things right.
So as I see it, then all those people would have to go because they're all incompetent and we need true leadership up in there.
Correct. And that they either have to go or they have to have furthering education, continuing education. Correct. Yes. And that's even going to be mentioned in here. But it's so systemic. It is so systemic that we have to have the oversight in the people and the ability in the people to understand their authority over these people, not as their controlling authority, but as they're controlling moral and ethical standards, their central organization of objectivity. People have to learn how to stand up and object to the immoral and unethical activities instead of just sitting back, kowtowing it, and accepting it for what it is. It's a behemoth, systemic, across the entire agency of any government, any public service. It's systemic. People will profess to be Christians and not give one damn about morals and ethics. Go ahead.
Am I wrong to think from a foundational base that this is not anything to do with me? And all of this teachings and these finances. So am I wrong to think that this is about the teaching and the finances? This ain't about what I think and what you think and what everybody else thinks. I mean, am I wrong to think that way?
Nope. That is absolutely correct. You cannot,
because that's where the true alchemy stems from, the growth and all of this shit.
Right. And you cannot in any way, shape, or form have conduct any kind of affairs with another man, another living soul, without a person, even if it's private.
So this isn't about moving us forward. It's about moving life forward as a whole. Right.
And when we deal with the public side, that usage of person is by a third entity. And this is it's called an imperfect usufruct, and they use titles and offices. Now, these here, the titles and offices as a legal representation in this imperfect usufruct are able to be perfected. But the thing is, the only one that can perfect that title is yourself. No one else can do it.
What should we have? I mean, I get back to that spiritual side where I didn't change any of that stuff, and just me speaking it and giving them knowledge that it needs to be corrected. It should already be done. Right.
And that's what I'm talking about with the title. If a title needs to be perfected, then the first flag that goes up should be, the first flag that should go up should be, wait a minute. If it's not perfect, then what's wrong with it? What is the error or omission that needs to be corrected? This is why I went on this path of correcting the record, because that's what says I'm entitled. I am not. I am a slave of my Father which art in heaven, and I do not want for anything. I'm not entitled to anything in the future. I accept what I have now, and I will deal with what I have tomorrow. whether it be more or less. Period. People refuse to live in that sense. They think there's a cost of living. It's bullshit. That's just a third-party interference that says you need to complete something here in order to give us authority. Well, if I want to give you authority, then you have to accept that I am the author. I am the author. In that, I maintain all rights, titles, and interests. If there's a title or an interest that comes up on your side, it would only be pecuniary, and I am willing as the creditor to cover that expense. Period.
Cops don't do any investigation. They don't care. They lack compassion. Watch this again.
Handcuffing, darnation.
Especially watch, well, it's both of them are incompetent. Both of them are impotent against this man's power. Obviously, this guy's almost, a large percentage of the time, this guy has his hands behind his back. So he's beating two people with his hands behind his back.
A cockroach.
Here, just put my hands, man. I'm not going on the ground here.
Look at this.
Here,
Look at this.
put my hands. Would you stop? Please, would you stop?
Cockrell says he was trying to comply.
See, he's already got his hands behind his back complying. They didn't have to drag him there or nothing. They tried dragging him out. You notice when they dragged him out, they had his arms spread. One was dragging him one way, the other was dragging him the other way, and he was trying to trip him up so he'd fall flat on his face.
This is where I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think these people should be fired immediately.
Immediately.
No waiting, no hesitating. Now.
Not only that, but I would do my own investigation and ask them who trained them.
Absolutely.
In that, the one that trained them in doing it this way would also be fired. This is unlawful training. This is military tactics upon peaceful people. This is what I was talking about with the Trading with the Enemy Act. It's it's a program of economic warfare that is now expanded beyond territories of war onto domestic soil and outside of elements of war during times of peace. It's on domestic soil, which is at peace. We are not involved in any war with direct American interests, but rather indirect American interests. And therefore, on domestic soil at peace, this is military tactics by a military government, and people need to wake up to that. This is a standing army. It's a violation of the Constitution. It's the separation of powers that's taking over the militia powers by a private entity.
Have you ever saw that show, Storage Wars, Keith?
Yes.
Okay, I was at a friend's house over the weekend, and that show was on. And ain't it funny how you pick up on things they say now? And they said that one of them hit big. He hit like $300,000 on some paintings, some artist or whatnot. But he said, "Pay your bills, America, or we'll take your shit." And this is the way those people were talking in that show. Pay your bills, Americans, or we'll take your shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I heard that, I was like, what the fuck? And it's like, holy shit.
It's all about that civil asset forfeiture, Trading with the Enemy Act, so they can take your private property for public use, a violation of the Fifth Amendment, Takings Clause.
With officers putting his hands behind his back, and despite saying he recently had shoulder surgery and bad knees,
there was no reason for them to try to get him down to the ground when he's already saying, hey, not only is he...
Where are his arms now, Russ? They were behind his back, complying.
Absolutely.
Now they're in front of him. They don't want him behind him if they have to tackle him. They want to drag him to the ground. That's their intent.
Well, their egos are busted all to hell right now, and that's what's going on right now.
Well, their style of arrest is a takedown, not compliance. They want to make it look like nobody is complying. That's bullshit. Back the blue until it happens to you. And like this guy said, he was complying as much as possible. and now he will never call them again. Why do you suppose that is? You suppose he's finally got the wisdom of the first-hand experience of why we don't trust these people, why we don't call them? We grow up and we mature and we learn how to take on our own personal responsibilities and our own private altercations, being reasonable and knowing that the person that we're in an altercation with is an image and likeness of the very God we profess to pay tribute to. See, that's the true authority over yourself, not another man.
You know what's crazy is, man, I feel sorry for what's coming for some people. I feel sorry for what I mean. I'd still like to be a fly on the wall because I'd like to see the look in their eyes when they realize the gig's up. And
Well,
you know, some folks obviously, you know, but whatever.
You never know, you might get that chance.
Saying he's going to comply, but he's complying by putting his hands behind his back. His hands aren't behind his back because of them. His hands are behind his back because he chose to put them behind his back so that he can comply with their ridiculous demands without their investigation.
He says the officers tried to trip him and force him down.
It makes me feel less than a person. You know, like, I mean, what do you expect the next time for me to call the police? I won't do that no more.
Amen.
In my lifetime, I won't call the police. And because it seemed like calling the police, you become a suspect.
What was the gentleman's name?
And if he need more training, then he should have been on the streets from the beginning.
Neither of them should be. And there's another element and another ingredient. An important ingredient in this video that we always talk about is one of this guy's neighbors bothered to become his insurance policy and record this incident.
Absolute, folks. I've spoken of this several times. Now, when it comes to this big brother and keeping an eye on us, I have spoke many times about using these devices that we already have many of. I have 2 phones. My companion has 2 phones. I have a laptop here. I have another old laptop that still technically works for certain things. Certainly I can sit it on my porch and let it record all day to a USB drive or something. These are things that we can set up for ourselves and just do automatically. Quid pro quo. They're going to keep an eye on us. I'll be damned if I'm not going to keep an eye on them. Now, I may not go out and do these First Amendment audits and get into certain places and push the issue. I've gone to city council. I've got a couple videos up on my auditing of city council. And I spoke of Hitler's willing executioners there. I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm going to be picky and choosy about when I do it and where I do it, of course. But I'm certainly not going to be quiet and meek. I'm going to be very bold. I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be truthful. And it's going to be so factual that if you don't like the truth, that's too bad. If you try to rebuke it and your emotions and everything, everybody else is going to see it because it's going to be that kind of a truth. Like when I speak about no man really has authority over another man. The exception to that would be like mom and dad have authority over their children, of course, to raise them in the ways of the Lord so that he will not falter. That's the foundational problem with the public education system and this belief that we have this convenience and comfort that we can send our children off to somebody else to teach them. Big problem. And it's my problem because I sent my children to school. It's my parents' problem because they sent me to public school. It's my problem because my parents sent me. It all comes back to me as being my problem, despite it being the same problem with everybody else. It's still my problem, just like it's still your problem. Keep sending them to public schools and see how they grow up and don't learn anything but to remember to reiterate what some dumbass told them about a narcissistic past history, and never learning about the living soul and its purpose. And again, remember, folks, actions speak louder than words.
Well, I look at it as one's presentment could very easily determine whether that was that presentment was an asset or a liability in the image and likeness. Period. The end. There's no barriers there as far as I see it.
Correct. And that's why I can't believe that. And these police, you ask them, most every last one of them is going to tell you, yeah, they're a Christian.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because and we're going to see in the next update video from this news channel, that they let the news reporter see the video, but she could only record the audio. So if you
and I'm going to say that no, she said she could only record the audio because she doesn't want the video. That would expose the actual truth of what happened. Whereas if you only have the video without, or the audio without the video, you can't see that the man was totally complying and that what these people did in their supposed act of serving and protecting was egregious, showing intent. And like Brian said, no compassion.
want audio, if you want to be assured, don't take comfort in the fact that that body cam red light is blinking. Take comfort in the fact that there's somebody that cares about you and cares about your well-being and wants to expose the cops, that's doing their separate independent recording. That's what you need.
Mesa police tell us when this video was taken, Cockrell had already been told that officers had found both his daughter and the mother.
Wow.
They say at no time was Cockrell under arrest, and he was released a few minutes later. We're told
at no time
I don't know how
was Cochrane under arrest, but we got our fellow poison girl.
I just don't see how any other individual would enjoy doing this to another person, another individual.
Yeah, it becomes a pattern of practice, and that pattern of practice, just like setting off any dopamine, sets off adrenaline rushes. And
well, I look at that as the energy. Am I wrong in thinking that as well?
Well, that's what they feed on, is the energy. Mm-hmm. Again, these people get that adrenaline rush when they do this. And at the end of the day, when they walk home and they're still alive and they see these events, and they particularly heighten them for their own sensitivities. And it's the dismissal of the actual compassion in being able to quell those emotions so that they don't strive and desire those adrenaline rushes. These are adrenaline junkies. That's why I say these women, you don't belong in these kinds of forces, ladies. You don't.
Certainly not an asset.
Not in these modern times.
Ponytail in blue, trying to force him to the ground against his will.
First officer was
but he's not under arrest.
Out of the academy, and he had been on patrol for just 2 months. Mesa officials say neither officer violated policy, but both will receive additional training.
This isn't.
Neither officer violated policy. How can it be policy when somebody is complying to escalate into a takedown? It cannot be. It goes against reason and logic, period. The furthering education, absolutely. In every instance, even if you haven't had an incident report as an officer, I urge every department to get on further education, because the way they've been trained in these military tactical takedowns is a violation of the Constitution by performing acts of a standing army. Get over it.
A violation of policy when you got a guy saying, hey, just don't take me down, I'll comply with you, I'll put my hands behind my back, and you'll achieve the same result, but I got bad knees. That's according to police department policy. You've got to be freaking kidding me. They sanction the use of this kind of force against somebody's will who's in compliant mode.
So why was Cockrell detained at all? Mesa police say he was highly emotional, which is understandable, but he wasn't following directions, they say, which spiked concern for officer safety. Cockrell says since the video went public, he was laid off from his job. He does, however, have his daughter back.
Oh, good. He's got his daughter back, but now he doesn't have a job, so now he can't support his daughter and provide for her needs because of the Mesa Police Department. Here is a follow-up on that same story.
Audio from Mesa Police body-worn cameras released to Fox 10 this afternoon involving an officer and a 911 caller whose daughter was kidnapped. The father was the one to call police and then was detained by 2 officers within minutes. Fox 10's Lindsay Regis broke the story on Thursday, and she joins us live now with more tonight. Lindsay.
Yeah, Mark. Last week, we shared video taken by a neighbor. What we saw today from Mesa Police was the very first interaction the 911 caller had with the police officer through his body-worn camera. I was allowed to view the video, but could only record the audio.
Well, there's transparency for you. Good job, Mesa Police.
She was able to review the video, but could only record the audio. And I am sure anybody who wants a copy of my videos, I'll just give you a copy of the video. That way you have the video and the audio. See, so with today's technology, this lady wants to stand up here on a news platform, fake news platform, to present a story without giving full details so that the audience can portray in their own minds that this guy was not complying, and it had to have been obvious because otherwise the police wouldn't have arrested him and then released him minutes later, right? Right? Come on. Don't give me these excuses that you couldn't get the video and it could only get the audio because you recorded it. You can get the video and audio by email. It's electronic. You don't even have to have a USB drive. What's your email address? People are stupid.
Police Department.
Hey, yeah, we're out there. We're out there. Relax. Relax. Thank you. Hey, relax. Yeah, stay down.
Tonight, we are hearing more of Darnay Cockrell's first interaction with the Mesa police officer after he called 911 to report his ex-kidnapped his 4-year-old daughter. The audio is from the male officer's body-worn camera when he first saw Cockrell coming down the stairs.
And I was running down the stairs. The officer was coming this way, and he was about right here. And when I was coming down, I just jumped past him about right here. And I said, hey, my baby mom, she went this way.
Last week, we showed you this viral video shot by a neighbor of Cockrell being detained by 2 Mesa police officers.
Good job, neighbor. That's the way you do it.
Absolutely.
You got a portable courtroom and a portable judge in your pocket so that you can show the judge and the courtroom, the jurors, exactly what happened, and you don't have to take the lying police department's word for it.
Just after 6 a.m. on August 6th. Cockrell tells the officer he won't sit down and that he has bad knees.
He telling me to get on the ground. I'm telling him I'm not getting on the, I don't feel I should have been getting on the ground when I'm the parent that's calling and my kid has been taken.
So they effectively took a victim of kidnapping. Like I said before, if I'd have done the same thing, that's what they charged me with. Fathers do this kind of stuff all the time, and that's what we get charged with, is kidnapping. And since it's the woman, though, and the man's the victim, the police come in, and they too victimize him. Now, what about that little girl? Why is not one person, other than this father, considering that girl? The mother's not considering. She violated a court order that was already determined that she's not supposed to have custody. The father is. And that would have been determined by competencies. Now, whether those competencies are true or not, they were recorded by the record, and that's what the record reflects. And these people, supposedly policy enforcers upholding those records, violated that very record themselves. They themselves helped that woman secondarily to kidnapping, knowing the case. These people knew the circumstances that, hey, the baby's mama doesn't have custody, and she came and took her. That's the simple basics. They made a victim out of that little girl 10 times what she already is.
We're out with your kid. I don't see her.
Yes, but she's in the intersection. So calm down.
About 5 minutes later, another officer arrives and detains Cockrell.
I'm like, my head like
This is just so ridiculous.
They was like, you brought this on yourself. And they grabbed me.
You brought this on yourself because I called the police. That's the only reason. So what are we supposed to do? We supposed to go chase that woman down ourselves? Are we supposed to lock our children up and not allow them to see the other partner? See, these are the lengths that people are driven to, the insane lengths that people are driven to, because we believe that this other man has some kind of authority and power, so we're going to call him to help. We've got to find better solutions, folks, and the better solution is not letting our children into these public education systems and being able to set our houses in order, knowing that it's God first, then the man of the house, and then that man has to pick a woman that he can train himself. Not necessarily that he has to train her, but that she has a like-mindedness in observing of God, and they can grow together so that when they do have children, they can raise that child in the ways of the Lord, and they don't need that third-party interference from anything. They are self-supporting. They are self-governing. This is the importance of God in your life.
They pulled me off my car.
There's another element that we always talk about, the victim blaming. Oh, the only reason you're on the ground right now is because of you. It's not because of us. You made us do that. You made us abuse our power against you.
Handcuffs were taken off Cockrell. His daughter was returned, and his ex was arrested and booked in jail for disorderly conduct.
See, and they wouldn't have a lawsuit if they'd have just said, oh, well, let's go get her. Arrest her for disorderly conduct. Return the child. See, that's what should have happened. But no, they had to delay justice, interfere with justice, deny justice, and create a victim by committing crimes themselves. Egregious.
How many purchase orders do you think they got signed in all of this?
And real quick here, before we continue on, you see I've been showing some Norm Longstaff comments. And it says the police work with the automobile insurance theft program. That's it. That's what I mentioned here a few weeks back. We went over the owner removal from program, where you can remove yourself from the program simply by removing the tag and or plate and replacing it if necessary. But it's suggested that you give notice to the proper authorities that you no longer wish to be participating in the motor vehicle theft prevention program, which is the only requirement to then have it plated and registered, because you have pledged that motor vehicle to the state And as possessor of that vehicle, you are guaranteeing that you are going to keep it under lock and key to prevent its theft, so that you can continue on in the business of performing the functions of public office, business, trade, or business. That's it. That's it. So let's continue on.
Domestic violence law.
Went from being a person that called to a person that you're trying to lock up.
Yep.
Cockrell tells us he lost his job after the video went viral on social media. A GoFundMe has been set.
So the consequence of them violating his rights is beyond just the violation of the right, because it has extended effect that he lost his job. The man had a job, for crying out loud. And because he was arrested, and though he was released minutes later on site, never booked, he lost his job. This is how discriminatory these employers are. Another problem with being in the public service and depending on a public service as an employment setup. We have to start learning how to be independent, folks, governing ourselves. Now, the rest of the video is pretty much repeating rhetoric, so we're going to go on to the next one about cops called about a white suspect and then arrest a deaf black man. This was just a couple weeks back, I believe. And it's just the fundamental insanity that we see in policy enforcement, and it's just it dumbfounds me that these people think that they can get away with such blasphemous lies. It's one of the greatest sins. And just by changing, and understand, these people were on a call looking out for a suspect. And rather than look for the suspect, they found somebody they could victimize, and that's what they did. So they violated their own policy in not following the BOA, be on the lookout, or BOL, be on the lookout for this suspect. So while they were on the lookout for that suspect, they came across a victim and said that he was the suspect. Imagine that.
Victimize the victim for being a victim.
Yep. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to have to fix this. I don't know what the hell the deal is. Wow. I might have to cut this short, guys. This is...
So you're going on. Acting up.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Oh, we lost share. Hold on, guys. Yeah, I'm going to go out and reboot. Come right back, Russ. Stay there. I'll be right back.
Yep.
Okay, let's see what we can do here.
They still didn't care. In fact, they thought the whole thing was funny.
Wow.
I don't know. It kind of feels funny, and my knuckles now smaller. And even worse, Phoenix.
Well, let's see if we can check out these shorts, see if the shorts make any difference.
Police and Maricopa County prosecutors continue to pursue a criminal case against this man. But you're not going to believe this.
Okay.
I don't think people understand how ridiculous the Grammys are becoming, and here's why. 50 Cent's.
Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Perjury charges.
People lie in court every single day. If you think he's lying, if you think he's not telling the truth,
What the hell?
send him out those doors for nothing. Perjury charges are so rare. It's because lying is somewhat accepted.
I'll be damned.
We have defendants who say, I wasn't doing this. And then we have a video of them.
Yeah. I'm going to have to stop it for tonight, folks. I don't know what the hell the deal is, but this is ridiculous. We can't really do a video stream if it's not allowing us to get good signal somewhere. And it shows my signal is good and everything, so it's got to be something on my laptop somewhere or something. So I'm going to have to do some research on that, see if I can't fix it, folks. My apologies. But the basic concept, again, that we're trying to bring tonight, folks, in this COPALOOZA special is that when we become dependent upon somebody else being our authority, and we become so willing to believe that in such a way that we're willing to accept their lies at any degree, it shows our fallacy and our willingness to be blasphemous ourselves and commit that very same egregious crime unto God, and that is by lying, bearing false witness, anytime, even in our actions. Like when these officers are supposed to follow a policy and they don't, their actions show the lie that they do not, in fact, follow their policy that they say they do. That's a lie. Therefore, their actions are lies. They prove the lie. So, basic concept, guys. People have lost their way because they gave up to society for comfort and convenience the main responsibility of bringing our children up in the ways of the Lord so they shall not falter. What do you got on the way out, Russ?
No, I mean, the internet has kind of been sucky lately. But I have to agree, Keith. I mean, that's why I don't get out too much. It's hard to even have an honest, upfront conversation. You know what I'm saying? About any of this out here. And that's the sad part about it. because these people really don't have any authority whatsoever. Zero. What do you think a judge would say if you sent him a thing that they said, provide the original application, or if they're not able to provide the original application, judgment of acquittal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to acquit it if it does not fit. You must acquit. If
Right.
it does not fit, you must acquit. Absolutely.
So I mean, if people realize these simple concepts, but the resentment, they're never able to pull it off. Just out of their resentment alone, that simplicity of what I just said there, I believe it'd be hard for someone to pull it off without the proper resentment of whoever presenting.
Yep.
Because you could see right through the liability, and you can see it just based on actions alone. You can see it. You don't even have to say a word.
Yep. And that's why I say, that old adage that actions speak louder than words is absolute. If you're going to say something if you say you're going to do something, then don't do it, your actions prove that you're a liar. Just like I said with the police, if the policy says you're supposed to do something and your actions say otherwise, your actions prove that you're a liar.
Deeds, not words.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be that's what I feel sorry for, when some of these people realize that, because I think there is a lot of good people out here in this, whatever you want to call it, right? And when that reality really sets in, I think they're going to see themselves, they don't bring much to God's table as far as finances go.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And that's going to be a sad reality for a lot of folks. But anyway, I guess that's for another day. But I always appreciate the time up here, Keith.
Absolutely. I always appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Much love and many blessings to everybody down there. Remember, popularity without a positive purpose to advance life forward holds no value whatsoever, folks.
Absolutely. That's that faith, hope, and charity of which is the greatest. You have to learn how to give. That's how you give to yourself. When you learn how to give of yourself to everybody else, it just automatically returns. They remember your kindness. They remember your generosity, your charity, and everything, and they will give back. This is one of the reasons why I go down to the Salvation Army every now and then to eat with them. It helps humble myself and allow me to appreciate the gifts that I do have. Even if it is living off of my companion, as some say. There are things that we exchange in our lives that she pays for certain things, and that I otherwise would have to pay if I was out on my own. But in our past, there were things that I paid that she was bringing money into the household that she never had to worry about. So it's a quid pro quo thing, and we learn how to exchange those things in our relationships through charity, not through a monetary system of holding each other liable and obligated, but through charity. So with
Absolutely. That, and I think that is what this is really all about, because I think once people start to see those things, we will all start to have a whole lot more.
Yep.
In the ways of good.
When you and when you realize your cup is full, that's when you realize that it's not a matter of a materialistic cup being full, but the fact that you are full of goodness and that you overwhelm with that goodness. And if you overwhelm with hate, that's what you're going to share. We all have a full cup, and it all overwhelms. Each and every one of our cups overwhelms already. It is more than any of us can handle, the goodness or the hatred. That's why it overwhelms. That's why we don't walk around as opaque beings with blank faces and no emotions. Think about
Absolutely.
That. And with
I'll
that,
let you go, brother. Much love and many blessings to you and everyone.
You betcha. I appreciate it. And you
Peace.
guys know me. Real quick before we leave, I want to remind everybody once again, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there if anybody wants to share some love. Always appreciated. It always helps. I certainly appreciate it. Anything you can do. And you know me. I love you. But I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see everybody next time. Bye now.
When do you want it? How do you want it? Who's your daddy? What about your mom?